It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer, whiskey, wine or gin. Anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
Back at it again. The summer of soccer rolls on. Sporting Kansas City even got involved this time. The Current broke another record. A change in the technical director for Sporting, the sporting director in the technical staff. I don't know. That's a mess on all those titles, especially with Vermees on above and below this guy. We have a lot to talk about. We'll get to all of that. We are the Kansas City Soccer Journal. My name is Cody Bradley. Robert Russert and Thad Beller here, and we are joined by Daniel Sperry of the Kansas City Star. He couldn't fit his whole name, his whole title in the box here in the chat. He was a little self-conscious about it, but don't worry, I got it all in there for you. Daniel Sperry of the Kansas City Star.
What's up?
Love the energy. All sorts of energy after the win last night for Sporting Kansas City. Thad Bell's all amped up. We're going to talk about the game. I want to talk about that, but guys, we had a celebrity on the field last night. An international celebrity was on the field for this game. Philippe Dujic is how I'm going to say this name. 30-year-old Canadian referee went viral last week for psyching out the St. Louis fans, which was the best part of this video for me. But let's play this video real quick for you.
After review, there was no offside offense. However, prior to the goal, there was a foul committed by St. Louis. The final decision is direct free kick.
Oh, what a showman. Just so brilliant. He knew exactly what to do. The beautiful pause right before, however, the fans played into it with the cheer and then the boo. Brilliant video. And Thad, I think this is a win. I can't imagine that MLS goes viral in a positive light throughout the international soccer community. And it's for a referee. They're liking this new development with the calling out of plays and VAR reviews, Thad.
Oh, I agree, man. I think it's better than bringing Messi to the league.
This decision has done more to make MLS go viral. No, I did see Premier League fans saying, we got to add this. We got to bring this to the Premier League. And that would be a good addition to all leagues, I think.
Plus, it was just a bonus that it was trolling St. Louis.
Yes. That is why that was my favorite part of the video. But how did we think he did last night? I don't think I really noticed him a whole lot in this game. Daniel didn't like that one. Daniel, so you didn't like his refereeing in this one?
I thought he in the first half. Now, granted, Austin just seemed like they were just going to kick the crap out of everyone the whole night.
Yeah.
And so at one point, I think in the 24th minute, we had 12 fouls total in the game, and Austin had twice as many as Sporting. So they had 8. Sporting had 4.
Sounds
yes.
good so far for this referee, Philippe.
I'm a mathematician. Anyways, I still think there were some moments where he was just like overly involved. He was for 60 minutes of the game, he was super intent about exact throw-in like location. And then for the final 30 minutes, he just did not give 2 craps about it.
Yeah,
like, did not care.
That video.
And it was just like it was just like there was so many, like, he was talking to everybody after every foul, and I think there were some yellow cards that probably should have been yellow cards. So, like, I don't know. He definitely had a very active and busy game. You can tell he's the kind of referee that kind of likes the sound of his own whistle.
There's the problem.
Ultimately, I did not think that I didn't think that the game was ever out of control physically. And I think he used the cautions, whether some were correct or not, to make sure he had the game in control. Unlike CONCACAF referees, the man knows how to manage a pretty physical matchup. But anyways, it did not hurt or help anyone over other night. So I guess honestly, we can just say
Yeah, a video like that was great just because he duped St. Louis, and that's wonderful. But you don't exactly want a referee who wants to be the center of attention like that. Well, I like the dramatic pause and all that, but it is a sign, Robert, that like he might want to insert himself in there. And as Daniel said, he likes the sound of his own whistle.
No, I think it was just the St. Louis hate that motivated him.
We can all get behind that one, I think.
even the Canadians hate him.
Did he like earn St. Louis's hate before that though? I mean, was he like maybe trolling them because they'd already given him shit?
Yeah, that's a good point. He gave it back to him a little bit.
But he's a really young referee,
Yeah.
and he's like very new, even within like the last year. I don't
He's
know.
30. He's 30, and I
seen
had
him.
never seen him in my life until
He's
that
my
video
age.
went viral.
That's scary. Yeah,
Yeah, I had.
You're 30? I didn't know that.
yeah. Unfortunately,
Would you think he was older?
I'm not going to say.
Downhill, man. Jeez.
Hey, I can't talk about age. Come on now.
Okay, so last night was one of the best performances of the season for Sporting Kansas City. Second shutout of the year, 15 shots. I know they've had a lot of shots before. Willie Agata likes to just turn and shoot. But I don't know. It seemed a little bit more purposeful, a little more intent last night. First goal was a little bit lucky, but the second goal was well taken. Defense looked as good as they have. And I don't think they turned a corner or anything like that, but it just felt so good to have fun at Children's Mercy Park again. Last night was so much fun.
It was fun, man. It's always good to have a win. It's always good to walk out of there like, with a little smile and players being happy, the locker room playing music a little too loud,
Yeah.
etc. It's all good. It's all good to walk out and see Josh Wolf walking down the hallway alone by himself, looking a little sad. And I go, "Hey, Josh, how you doing, man?" And he's like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yes.
That's always good. That's all bonus.
Best part of the night right there.
I know. Well, I didn't want to say it was the best part of the night, but it was
I
a
did
slightly
for you.
enjoyable part. But again, actually, he's been really cool the last few years since he's been a coach. But still, it's really enjoyable. And I still have to wonder, was it Sporting good or Austin bad or a bit of both?
Yeah, Austin did not play well last night, but I was drinking it all in. I snuck into the Shield Club. I don't know if it's sneaking in. I went to the Shield Club after the game to hang out. Beasler, Zusi, Sinovic, everybody was in there. Beasler has a party mullet right now. Did you guys see him at the stadium last night?
Did not catch that.
I did. He's had the party mullet for a little bit though. I feel like.
Yeah, okay.
Like I feel like I've seen the mullet like every time I've seen him this year.
Yeah, Kansas City soccer media is really missing post-retirement Beasler. He really came into form in his retirement. He's got a lot more personality now, and we need to get him involved again. Let's see if we can get him back on the show.
Well, hey, Thad and Daniel. Daniel, you were right there. But last night, I just want to speak to Cody. He was enthusiastic, living and dying with every moment, cheering hard when good things happened. All the inappropriate things in the press box, yes, that you shouldn't do.
Hey, they kicked me outside. There were so many people in town for the game tomorrow night that it was a packed press box. And Sperry was the only one up on the front row and in the high ground up there. They got to stay behind the glass.
Yeah, well, behind the glass. I'm glad it was open because it was a wonderful night outside, anyways.
Beautiful night.
I will say, like PJ Green and I got a couple of looks, not bad looks necessarily, but from Joe Lowry and Jonathan Tannenwald when we kind of lost it at Johnny's pass. Like before the goal went in, like we saw the pass from the outside of the foot up there, and like both PJ and I were like, "Oh my god!" And the ball is not even in the back of the net yet. And like Jonathan Tanner, the two were in I don't know, they weren't totally into the middle of the game and paying attention at that point, so they were kind of I think shocked because they didn't really realize what was happening in the moment. But it was one of those of like it was a good vibe overall. I mean, I was talking even to a couple of folks that were out of towners that one guy covers ball in Europe and had never been to an MLS game before. That was his first MLS game last night, and he was saying today that it just the atmosphere surprised him. And I would argue this is not even like it was a pretty average CMP night in terms of like atmosphere and vibe. For the first 15 minutes, I could not hear the cauldron. So outside of the drums, did not hear any chants.
You could hear
at
the
all.
Austin fans the first 15 minutes. I could hear the Austin fans clear as day.
And I will say we are positioned very, very well in the press box to just get all of the noise from the away corner.
Yeah.
And Austin brought 50 fans, which is the most any away section outside of St. Louis has brought this whole year. But before I go too far down a rabbit hole, I think we like take for granted sometimes how even bad nights or off nights are still really good experiences for people
we're not
in
Houston
the league, and it's not Houston. You're not San Jose. And I'm sure maybe you go to St. Louis and they're a little bit more wowed because St. Louis is super loud right now, even though the team's bad. Although they weren't there last night, but
don't give them that credit. It's still the new cool thing there. It's the only sport they have at the moment. Just let them have it.
It's the only football they have. It's soon to be the only football played in the state of Missouri. Anyways,
well, they've turned on the Cardinals too. The Cardinals are bad for the first time in like 20 years, and everyone stopped going to the game, so they don't care about them
over
either.
500 now.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Oh, the one Cardinals fan in here has got to stand up for his boys.
No.
Hi, Pat Bell.
Hi, Cardinals are above 500. And wait a minute. What do you mean that they would be the only football in the state of Missouri? Have you forgot the Current?
Oh, wow.
Man.
Yeah.
And you're both forgetting
until I tell
teams.
Danny on you, man.
Yeah, I'm sure both of them are going to be just floored that I forgot about them.
You're both missing the arena teams, so shame on all of you.
Well, I was thinking of that. Yeah, that league. I kept thinking of the team's
professional
name,
football.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'll get it. Now that you said you can't think of it, I can't either. They are the
First
St.
Flight
Louis
men's football.
They're the St.
Battlehawks.
Louis Ambush. The Ambush in St. Louis. Is that their team name?
I'm talking about the actual football, American football,
'cause-
Battlehawks.
Wait, you're gonna go to the Ambush as a professional football team and not the Comets, the guys who have had you in their media game?
Well, no, I was just trying to think of this team in St. Louis.
All right, this has devolved pretty quickly. Anyways, last night was fun, wasn't it, guys?
Yes, it was.
No, it's actually more fun to give Cody crap, actually.
And St. Louis.
This is like a regular occurrence. I mean, sporting winning is a one-off.
Yes, and that's why we should talk about it instead of making fun of me.
Still, Cody, did you hobnob with Beasler and Zuzi and everybody?
I did a little bit, yeah.
right.
Talked to Beasler for a little bit. Talked to Jake Peterson for a little bit. It was good. It was a very good night. Vibes all around. And it's been way too long. Been way too long for that.
Nice.
But yeah, the decorum in the press box, that Johnny goal, it was just, you could see it developing from so far away. You could see Vargas making the run on the other side. It was just like, come on, Johnny, get there. Oh, Vargas. Afrifa making the run on the other side.
What game did you watch? Jeez,
Yeah, okay, Venmo the fine jar, man.
And-
Seriously.
Come on.
Yeah,
Didn't
where's
I-
the pine jar?
I
bin
think I
anyway?
corrected it quick enough. I'm not finding myself on that one.
No, you weren't. You only realized it was wrong because both Daniel and I leaned closer to the mic to say, "Oh no, dude."
Yeah, they all gave me the silent lean forward treatment on that one. No, that was a very exciting play, and I lost all decorum. I was just fist pumping underneath the table. I feel like I try to hide it a little bit. I don't think I'm breaking the rules openly in the press box, but I definitely toe the line. I test the waters at every opportunity.
No, you're not bad because I will say there was an Austin reporter that came to town like in their first season. Remember that first game where Austin scored like the first goal in that match?
Yes.
I think it was like John Gallagher or something like that. Dude like jumped up in the press box. Yeah, let's go.
I remember this.
And I thought Patrick was about ready to lose his crap. Like he was like, you know that guy? You better freaking tell him to like to chill it out. And I was like, what are we doing here? Like there's a difference, I think, between like oohing and awing over things and like just outright cheering.
Yeah. I
for
do a
those
lot
that
of
will be in
oohs
the
and
press
ahs.
box, same. But I mean, I don't know. If you love the game and you care about it, like it doesn't like even sometimes when opposing teams do stuff like I mean I remember Diego Valera. I remember kind of losing it a tiny bit. At like Diego Valeri hit a shot one time from like 30 yards out into the top corner, and it's just, I don't know, when you see incredible things,
Yeah.
It's what brings the sport alive, man.
Yeah, Messi's
but
banger.
there is a line,
Yeah.
and you got to stay under that. And there will be probably no line in the press box tomorrow if you're at USA Uruguay, because from my experience in the press box with Peru versus Canada, it was an all-out fan fest. So
Interesting. I would think that's where all the professional journalists are, and they have more decorum.
The professional journalists and the unprofessional journalists.
Ah, okay. Thad, how
Yep.
has the process been getting your credential for this game? Nice and smooth, I bet, from Comnable.
It has not been smooth in any way, shape, or form. This game, the last game, you don't know if you're going to be in. You don't know if you're going to be out.
You
gotta
still
go to the
don't know.
stadium.
You still don't
No.
know about tomorrow, right?
I won't know until about 2 hours before the game, perhaps. And I'll have to go to the stadium to find out if I get to shoot the game, which is the same thing that happened Peru, Canada. There wasn't even that many photographers there. There were still open slots, and they couldn't tell me, yes, you're approved, until I was never approved. I was on a wait list, and they said, okay, now we're going to the wait list because somebody hasn't showed up yet. Boom, you're in.
I saw a picture from the first U.S. game. I'm blanking on where that was, but someone took a
Dallas.
picture, Dallas, of just the whole room of secondary reporters, I guess. It was everyone they gave a credential to, and then they all showed up to the game and had nowhere to go. They were just standing around a room all on a wait list, apparently. This is
Yeah.
madness. The stadium is huge at Arrowhead. How are they having trouble with this, Thad?
Well, okay, I think for the most people that are applying as a reporter, most people will get in the press box without a problem. But at Children's Mercy Park for Canada, Peru, I was given observer status. So was Sperry. We were given observer status, and so Robert, until right before the game. And then all of a sudden you get a regular credential, which I had yanked once, which is also stupid. I was given a photographer credential. They yanked it. I got it back. And then I was able to shoot. But otherwise, I would have been sitting in the stands, not allowed to shoot.
Interesting. So the observer credential is literally just you get in the stadium and you can stand on the concourse.
It's a seat. You do have a seat somewhere.
Okay.
It's a section. It's not like an assigned seat. It's a section. And at Arrowhead, it is section 323, I believe.
That's a middle section. That's not even upper deck. That's better. It's not terrible.
It's upper deck.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
323.
Oh, twos are the middle, huh? Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure everyone listening loves us talking about the media game.
yeah, I don't know. I thought like at some point, like at the end of this, maybe we would talk about CONMEBOL stuff. Aren't we supposed to be talking about sporting? Good night.
Yes.
Good night, boys.
Man, are you
Let's get back to
whiny
the
today?
rundown.
Are you whiny?
Hey, you're mad at me. I was the one bringing it back. You can't get mad at me while I'm bringing it back on topic.
I'm just angry in general.
Well, good things are happening. There's not a lot to be angry about.
Are they?
Except for the U.S. national team in a tough game tomorrow. But Sporting Kansas City, Robert, what'd you think of the midfield last night?
Oh, I thought we were going back to Vargas's goal. I'm sorry.
Shut up.
Yeah, I mean, I've been complaining or just commenting about this the last couple of pods that, Rodriguez, Tommy, and Radia in the midfield is not a midfield that's going to really slow many other teams down very much at all.
Yeah.
So I was really happy to see, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, is this the first time that Davis has started with Tommy and Radia?
That I think so. I was trying to figure that out too.
I think so.
Yeah, so the midfield was much more balanced, and I asked Peter about it in the press conference afterwards. And he was very complimentary about how they pressed and counter-pressed and really gave Austin little time on the ball.
Yeah, they do that part well. We just still don't have the attacking midfielder that I want, Thad. What were you about to say?
I was just agreeing. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a fine midfield, but there's just a lack of creativity. And I think maybe that's why Polito thinks that he needs to come back in the midfield so much. I know he's always done that, but we're still missing the actual creative attacking midfielder. Tommy has so much energy. He's so positive. He goes forward, but there's a magic I think that he is missing sometimes. I love Eric Tommy. I don't want to be the hater here. I'm just on the same board as everybody else when we're talking about the team not quite being good enough. And I think that's what they're missing in the midfield.
Actually, I would argue I feel like they've missed they've missed a guy that can move the ball without having it at his feet, if that makes sense. Like that it's a one touch in and two touch out kind of a thing. I wouldn't say Jake Davis doesn't necessarily qualify as that necessarily, but Jake playing as more of a box-to-box mid as he did in that game and being so heavy and initiating the press. I thought the rotations of the ball movement between him and Johnny Russell and Caden Pierre on that side were really, really good. Late, I think why Peter subbed him off is he was getting too late in the press. Like in the second half, he was late arriving to a lot of things. And so at that point, then he was just like running himself into the ground because he's just running around trying to press things and he's late to everything. And so then now all of a sudden they don't have numbers in a couple of situations. Austin was just too bad to take care of them. Those situations where they could have done something with it. But I think Jake will learn as he continues to play more in the midfield, but the energy and the pressing and the bite that he has is in a small way Roger-esque.
Oh yeah.
I don't think the quality is there in terms of the way Roger had it. Roger seemed to have the ability to like unlock things in the final third as well. He was a phenomenal passer. Had the great like crossfield switch and stuff, and that's not like something that's 100% part of Jake's game. He's really good at like the pass and move and some of the wall pass stuff there, but he's not gonna break a line or make like a key pass or a progressive pass in that way. That's a Remy Walter kind of thing, but Remy Walter doesn't always have the kind of bite that Jake does. And I think when Remy does come back, hopefully soon, he was in full training on Thursday. And should be relatively back in the mix. There's a bunch of games over the next couple of weeks. I figure he's going to start getting some minutes at some point the next week and a half, 2 weeks. But it'll be interesting to see if Jake can put himself into the midfield conversation going forward, and that's going to be a big thing because. If he's no longer seen as a right back, and especially if Caden Pierre plays like he does at right back, because he's been really good. I think even when he went out injured in the Columbus game, I thought he was playing really well in Columbus, and Caden played fantastic. He was one of the better players on the field as a whole, I thought, against Austin. So I think it makes that battle interesting, and because Jake's natural position is in the midfield, I think Jake's kind of trying to make a shot in those moments.
I like that you said that about Jake in the midfield, because there was a funny moment in the press conference last night where someone asked that of Peter if Jake was – I actually can't remember. Someone referenced another player in the past who had maybe left the midfield and came back and then just kind of asked to stay in that spot, inserted himself there. And Vermees was asked if Jake could do that, and he was like, well, he could ask, but it's not going to work. So I don't.
Yes, I was asking about Roger because it was Roger
that
did
yeah.
that, and I think it was right. Peter had told this story in the press conference earlier in the week, as my daughter makes an appearance behind me.
Dog and daughter.
Dog, daughter, wife, everybody coming through. Peter told that story in the midweek press conference with Roger about how there was something going on and they kind of needed a left back in the moment, and Roger just started to really get a really good run in the midfield, and he asked and Roger kind of said, no, like I'm staying in the midfield, you're not putting me at left back.
Right.
I asked if Jake was at that spot because I don't know if Jake's necessarily had the performances, but like I think it was an interesting parallel. And so I Jake and Roger are tight too. So it's not like, there's a level of mentorship that happens.
And at halftime,
in a way. And
at halftime, when Roger was talking, he got asked about his red card record being broken, and he jokingly mentioned Jake as maybe the one that could do it.
Jake's never gotten a red though. He's been pretty for the most. I know he did get the yellow suspension earlier this year,
Right.
but he is relatively disciplined in terms of not getting the red card or not making like that challenge.
Right,
you
but
know what I'm saying?
Thad, I thought of Thad immediately, and he gets some credit here. I'm going to give you your flowers, Thad, because he, for years, was saying that, you know, a lot of people were talking about Felipe being the next Roger or Roger-esque, and Thad for years was saying that Jake is the one in the midfield that's hard-nosed and can do that style of play. So Roger sees that too. Well done, Thad.
Thank you. And yeah, I think I mean, again, like you said, Felipe was people. Everybody mentioned it. Jake was the one that was closest to it, but he had to make that step up, and we'll see if he still does. And yeah, Jake has been making a point of being more disciplined this year because he's gotten some stupid yellows, and he's trying to make sure that he's not getting as many yellows this year.
So, Daniel, you mentioned, Caden, Johnny, and Jake. Caden, besides me getting him confused with Rosero all game because of his cornrows.
Yeah, anyway. I did too.
Anyway, I think that dynamic really allowed Johnny to do his thing, with Caden overlapping and Jake being more active in the midfield there on that right side. So Johnny was free to do more Johnny things.
Johnny had a really good game.
I would agree with that too. And I think there's also some of it too. That I felt like Johnny had a different kind of energy about him last night. I don't know what the bump was, but you could see from the beginning he was hot, he was invested, he was like, I am going to be 100% in the mix in this game, and you saw it. And so
he was on. It was just one of those.
We haven't gotten that at every moment this year from him.
Yeah. It was. He was just on. Every touch was right. Every tackle, the ball fell his way. It was just everything was working for Johnny last night. And I do want to talk more about that goal. Thad, we had a conversation in Slack, a rather lengthy conversation about Stephen Afrifa after he had scored a goal. Where do you stand with him? What is the ceiling for Afrifa after he's, 3 goals in 4 games? 3 goals in 3 games? Something like that? 3 goals in 4, I think.
Yeah, something like that. That's a really good question. I would love to say, oh man, he's going to be like a superstar. I don't know that I can say that still. I mean, I've always thought he has the potential of being a decent MLS player. Because I'm going to always look at anybody that's out of the draft. They're going to have to kind of double prove themselves to me. Because I don't value the draft hardly anymore. I know they're still good players.
Yeah.
But I just don't value it that much anymore. So, I mean, I like the guy. He's a super nice guy, and he's rounding into form. He's being in the right spot. And unlike a lot of players on Sporting, he put a ball in from point blank range.
Yeah, so he's 23, and the conversation we had in Slack, I don't want to...
Oh, he's doing better than Pepe for the national team. Sorry.
Okay, good shout. Mike Kuhn was the one that was maybe pouring water on the fire in the chat as we were all excited about Afrifa. I think everyone respects Mike's opinion quite a bit, so that made me question it a little bit. He's 23, and I understand the question of how high his ceiling might be, but Robert, he hasn't had that much time in Major League Soccer. Some guys figure it out at 25 and 26. He's got really good speed, really good instincts, and he's good one-on-one already. And I don't know. I think he can keep growing. I'm still pretty excited about him, Robert.
Well, I'm going to compare him to Vargas since you brought it up earlier. But in our Slack, when Vargas scored his first goal, somebody, and I'm sorry, apologies, said, oh, I think Vargas has best 11 talent in this league. And I was like, what? How can you conclude this from this little clip and him scoring this goal? You can't. You look at Afrifa over the time period he's been playing. He's a more complete player. He has a lot of different skills. And I think, Cody, the key part that you said was I think he does have a good head on his shoulders, and he's learning when to do things he needs to do. Defensively, he has a lot of work to do still, as Peter mentioned. But I think he's got a lot of good tools that if he applies himself could definitely develop for him.
We have kind of been comparing those two because we were just looking at who we had on the wings in support this offseason, and those two were really kind of the only ones as Janice was apparently fading away. But I don't know. It looks like maybe Vargas Thad is now the third choice off the bench. Janice got the start last night. What do you think where do you think the wings stand right now?
I think you look at two different wings, though. I think Afrifa to the left, Vargas to the right, and they're also different players. While they're both fast, Afrifa is more complete, as Robert would say, in the passing and the finishing. Vargas is incomplete in almost everything except speed, and he's going to create chances.
Well,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? So they're two different players, which is fine. I mean, it's quite all right to have two different players, and that's actually a good thing. Is if you're being pressed and you just need outlets, they can both like do it. But Vargas will have more speed, and we had him on before the season, and they very much admitted that Vargas was the faster one. So
I think he's the faster one, and he's younger and more raw. He just started playing soccer like 3 years ago, Daniel.
Yeah, and the other thing
Organized.
too. So one of the things that I think about when I see Elenis Vargas, is I think he is the perfect guy off the bench, and to ask him to start and to pace himself and manage himself over 90 minutes isn't there. Much like you have in baseball, you have relievers that throw 100 miles an hour, 90 plus miles an hour, and they can sustain what they do best, which is use their speed over a long period of time. And I wonder if right now Vargas is that guy because he hasn't quite developed that. And I wonder if he'd be better served at times learning to try and play 90 minutes with SKC2, because he very clearly is a guy that cannot operate as a striker or as a starter. I don't know that I just don't think he can pace himself in that way yet. It reminds me actually of Anderson Julio with RSL. Julio, back in like 21, when it was his like first year in the season or first season in MLS, the guy came over stupid fast and just threatened everybody in behind over the top, was a late goal counterattacking machine. But they were frustrated with him because if you couldn't start him, it wasn't happening for 90 minutes, and he wanted to start, and he didn't really get to learn how to pace himself. Now, 2-3 years later, Anderson Julio can start and go 85 minutes and pace himself and make the runs when he needs to because he's learned it. So I think that's a learning curve that needs to come with Vargas as well. But a guy like Janice cannot come off the bench and be a difference maker off the bench. He just isn't that kind of guy. And Peter talked about it a little bit. He's the guy who's the starter because he'll come in, he'll pace himself over, 70 odd minutes, and they will be able to kind of ride by with him. He's not going to hurt you, or he's not going to help you very much, but he won't hurt you. And I think that's kind of why they went with what they went with last night. And Afrifa came off the bench and did exactly what he needed to. He was super active in that 30-minute window. Afrifa's also not a 90-minute guy, but he can handle like the early start and the early feel of the game. So he can be a starter, but he's not a 90-minute guy. He's a 60-minute guy. So I think that's the thing with some of these young guys right now, is that none of them seem to be like 90-minute players. And Peter Vermees, as we all know, with the substitution patterns for quite a long time, heavily relies on his guys being mostly 90-minute guys. And so now he's kind of maybe learning how to rotate and manage that wing properly with the guys that he has to give them and put them in situations that are best for them.
Yeah, awful lot of guys that are not 90 minutes fit, which seems crazy to me. I've already ranted about that. But Robert, very quickly before we go to break here, if we're burning it all down, we've done this game a couple times this year, especially after the St. Louis game. But no one mentioned, I don't think, Vargas and Afrifa. Are you keeping both of them if we're burning it all down?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah. Thad, are you keeping both of them?
Yeah, and I think the only reason I wouldn't have before is we were down to like keeping one or two people.
Yeah.
And they're not in the first two spots I would keep.
Okay.
But they might be in the fifth and sixth spots.
Yeah.
Are we
More
up?
than fifth.
That sounds like progress, though. Are we up to keeping 4 and 5 people if we're burning everything down?
Of all the players that are leaving, I would say I would think there's 17 total contracts, right? And I think I've been somewhere between 5 and 6, and that's depending upon the price that certain players that wear the captain's armband come back at. I don't know that they can continue to do some of those contracts that Johnny has, and he might have to take a little bit of a pay cut if he wants to stay. I don't know if he wants to do that. I don't, who knows what this whole new regime will want to do. But I do think that might be a factor in it. But I do think there's like 5-6 guys that have their contracts up, and especially with some of the option that are coming up, like Caden Pierre option, you probably take that and give him another year based on what we're seeing. Robert Castellanos, well, with what that you have with him, unless you somehow sell him to Chivas and all that stuff still comes to fruition
For a lot of
some
money.
point in time, for much more money than Chivas probably wants to pay.
Right.
That's an option that you trigger because he's a really good third center back to have on your roster. So like I think there's some of those that are mixed in with those decisions, but like I'm at 5-6 players total out of that group that I think are worth keeping, because it's at that point you're still replacing 11 players on the roster. So or have 11 players that are out that you'll need to replace.
So I just have one question. Since we're talking about burning it all down, is that the perfect segue for the next segment?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And speaking of taking pay cuts, and speaking of Roger Espinoza, who was in town, that video made me cry, by the way. I loved seeing that video. And the second they showed long-haired Roger making the ugly face Roger with long hair, the crowd went crazy. It just tugged at my heartstrings. I love that. But yes, speaking of pay cuts, another shout. Never forget, Roger Espinoza is why he's going on the wall. Took a pay cut and played for this team for like $86,000, the league minimum in his last year. That's why he's a sporting legend. Love Roger. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Daniel, that's a cute dog. I think this is the first time I'm seeing your dog and like your whole family. I'm getting a lot of shots of your family here in this podcast.
I know.
What kind of dog?
That's what happens sometimes. He is an Irish setter.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
He's like I don't know. He's either an Irish setter or a long-haired Vizsla. They both have very similar tendencies and behaviors. His coat never got as long as an Irish setter.
This is a dog podcast.
He never got as tall as an Irish setter is. However, he's a little bit bigger than the whole like long-haired Vizsla thing. But
okay, great analysis. Very in-depth analysis of the dog. I always
way
love
too
dog
much
talk.
energy, but incredibly
More.
cuddly and chill and sweet. So
There you go. I could use more cuddly in my Australian Shepherd. As you can see behind me, she walked away from me a second ago to go to the other side of the bed. Thad, I appreciated your attempt at a transition last time.
It was kind of a dad joke transition.
Yes, it was.
golf claps.
Let's talk about the new sporting director. Mike Burns was the joke that Thad was making there. 15 years with the New England Revolution. He left there in 2019. And then there was a little gap, 2022 to 23. He was a consultant for Major League Soccer. So he had the rest of this year off. There's some gaps in his resume, gentlemen. And I think the key here, maybe the thing that perked up the most for me, was that he is a former teammate of Peter Vermees. So let's just start the conversation there. I think the question that fans have had, the problem fans have had, is that things have gone stale. There's too much of the same philosophy, and hiring a former teammate of Peter Vermees, you can at least understand why people might feel like that is a Peter Vermees hire. And when you add in the dynamic that Peter is below him as manager and above him as chief of soccer operations, that it's just kind of a weird situation. So, what's your initial reaction to this hire? Is this the change in philosophy and refresh that we were all hoping for?
It is not a big change or refresh all by itself. There might be more coming. I think there's supposed to be more coming. We'll have to see if there's more coming. But essentially, he's the guy that's going to do contracts. He's going to be the guy that like negotiates, does the contract, writes it up, makes sure MLS approves it, et cetera, et cetera. He did the role before, and he worked with MLS on some stuff for a couple years, and so he knows the rules, he knows how to write contracts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think there was anything like different than what Bliss was doing in that regard. I think, unfortunately, in a lot of regards, Bliss may have been the sacrificial scapegoat.
He was scapegoated.
Uh,
You don't have to be shy about it. I think he was scapegoated.
Because when it comes down to it, if people aren't giving Vermees and the guy that reports to him, who reports to Vermees, that reports to the other guy, and all these other guys down the line, if they're not giving him $10 million to go find a player, then nobody can do that. We have to find free players, and you might as well read KC Soccer Journal for some guys who might be able to be gotten for free. So that's what it comes down to, and it will still be the same if they are not providing X amount of dollars to find U22 players, if they're not providing Y amount of dollars to sign a free agent or a transfer fee or whatever, a good DP, etc. You're still going to have the same issues, whether it's Mike Burns, Brian Bliss, or Robert Russert.
So yeah, I mean, the franchise has been stable. Success has been varying, which is going to be for any franchise. You're not going to see anything radical coming anytime soon. I don't know if it sounds like Daniel and Thad know something that maybe Cody and I don't. Little hint there that Thad gave. But I don't think we're going to see a dramatic change because, why would you bring in someone with a completely divergent attitude toward things than you have and try to work with that person?
Yeah, that's fair. And Daniel, I do want you to comment on that. Thad said something earlier about maybe more changes coming, and you gave a kind of a hearty nod to that. What is this inside info that you two are keeping?
I mean, let's just be real here. This team has lost Megan Cameron. They lost Mike Jacobs, and they never really hired anybody to actually fill those spots. Now they fired Brian Bliss, fired whatever mutual agreement to part ways, whatever the heck it was. Brian Bliss is gone, and they replaced the guy for a position that they I mean, this is arguably the closest actual replacement to Mike Jacobs that we've had at any point, like in terms of an outside hire since Mike Jacobs left to go to Nashville. So when you're looking at it that way, and if this is a different role, a different title, right? No one else has held sporting director for this club except for Peter Vermees until recent years. He has oversight over the academy, SKC2, as well as helping build the rosters for SKC2 and Sporting KC. To do that, you have to hire more people. And you have to hire people to run those things if you are trying to oversee everything, because I think that would be one of the arguments about Peter Vermees in the sporting director role is it's too much for one person, especially with the manager thing on top of their plate. But it's still too much for one person to just do that entire thing without filling out a full staff. At the moment, the only people that we know of in the staff is Sayad, I believe, who is their kind of player recruitment department director, and a few scouts, which might include a couple of past Sporting KC players. That's it. That's like retained. So like you've got to fill out some of these things, right? Like you need maybe some oversight in terms of like if you have a sporting director, you can also have a technical director that might be more in terms of like developing model of play and kind of overseeing the youth coaching and stuff like that. Like all of that seems to fall under this sporting director thing. And I think it's going to go, the gist that I get is that it goes hand in hand with Vermees' philosophy, because as you said, if Vermees is still here and Vermees is still technically CSO, if that's the structure, and that's what we end up learning when we talk on Tuesday, then ultimately that they're still sticking with the same overall vision that Peter Vermees has for the club, which means Peter Vermees brings someone and the club brings in someone that Peter Vermees trusts to help carry out that vision. That's how this thing kind of works. I don't want to say like this is going to actually work this way, but like I think we should think about this whole relationship with Burns and the ownership and Peter and the ownership, and then Burns and Peter in relation to each other. much more similarly to an Andy Reid, Brett Veach type of thing. For Chiefs fans, I think it's really easy to think that way. Do you think Brett Veach actually has the power to fire Andy Reid? Absolutely not. Clark Hunt would never sign off on it. If Veach is never firing it unless Clark Hunt says yes. And that's two people that say they're doing that. Andy Reid has pretty much entire oversight over all football operations for the Kansas City Chiefs, and Brett Veach is in charge of getting the players for him to go do that. Let's think of that more like that model and kind of understand that. But in reality, like when we say there's more announcements coming, like more announcements just means more staff hired. And it depends on how he wants to fill out his staff underneath him. Does he want to bring in a analytical team and hire a couple of at least one or two analytics person, although they technically have an analytics person that's just not listed as an analytics person on their team website. So it's one of those things of like, yes, there's more coming because you got to make more hires in this front office for sure. Like it's down to bare bones at this point. And so absolutely need to make more hires in that standpoint. So those are quote unquote the more announcements that are coming down the road. At least the gist that I get in terms of, and we'll learn a lot more of Burns' vision and all that kind of stuff here. But I just think, kind of like to Robert's point, it's been like, if you are the ownership and you say what you say, that Peter Vermees is still going to coach this team, Peter Vermees is going to be part of the rebuild / retool, and Peter Vermees is who he is with the Chief Soccer operating thing, then like the hire was never going to be somebody that is completely different from what Sporting has been doing. And I think there's like, I don't know that the philosophy in terms of playing and model of play, I don't think that's broke in any way, shape, or form. It's just in large part the player recruitment and the ability to keep up with the rest of the league. And I think that is a two-way street with ownership in terms of the amount of money that they're putting towards the roster and putting towards player acquisitions in and out. And maybe some people who are willing to be a bit more robust in player transactions as well.
And as implied on the broadcast, Daniel, would you say that this coming window probably isn't going to be that dramatic?
Yeah, hold on. Thank you for saying that. I want to actually mention this instead of glossing over it, because I was told that this happened in the game last night. That here, let me get the exact quote up here. That the announcer said, Peter Vermees told us that he doesn't think this window will be very active, and it will be about the winter window. And Thad, after we were learning that the owners were talking about the next 3 transfer windows being important, the rebuild is happening over the next 3 transfer windows, all of a sudden it seems like it's down to 2.
Well, I mean, it still would be over this one, just not active in this one. I don't know, man, because Peter has very consistently said, and we've asked him probably once a week between Daniel, me, or others of, what's going on. And the answer is, well, I'm still waiting on what the budget will be. I'm still waiting to find out from the owners what the budget will be. And that is the most Peter has ever criticized the ownership in any way, shape, or form. But it's been consistent. I'm still waiting to hear what my budget will be.
Well, right.
Huh?
And so did he get his answer? And that's why it's now, we're not going to be very active in this window.
Well, if he has, I don't know, because we haven't talked to him since last night that we knew that was out there. But again, that was going to be something I was going to ask. There's something I'm going to be asking on Tuesday. Sorry, Daniel.
Yeah, for sure. But I think we can go back to maybe one of the questions that we asked on Thursday, or maybe not Thursday, maybe it was Tuesday with Peter. Someone asked him though about, I think you asked him about seeing other teams, sign players already for the summer window, and they haven't done anything. And he again went back to the budget. Well, I think you asked him if he wanted to be active in this window. Peter Vermees wants to be active in this window. How active has never been a true statement. If they say, "Oh, we want to be active," and he says we want to add a midfielder, adding one player and maybe shipping out one player, whether it's Robert Volader, rumored to go back to Maribor, whether it's Robert Castellanos, who's maybe going to be sold to Chivas, whether it's like cutting somebody that they think is dead weight, like all those things are in there. 2 of those things happening still constitutes as a relatively inactive window to me, because the most true activity you can do because of the contracts and when they're up and all that stuff is going to be the winter window. So I think of course they were always going to be the most active in the winter window. To spread it out evenly over the three, I think is a little difficult because of the way the contract structure works in MLS.
And
But
one of the things I tried to pin him down on is because the window doesn't officially open until the 18th of July. I mean, you can sign players before then, you can do all those things. So you can't actually add a player till officially the July 18th. And what I was trying to get into was if the team is still struggling, if the team is in bad shape, I didn't want to say it that way, but if it's not going to do any good to add a player, is that change his mind on how he's going to be active in this window, right? So maybe you save the budget and you use it for the next window or
that's what I
something
was
like
saying.
that.
That's what I was saying one week. Thank you for asking that question.
So I was trying to like ask it in a polite way without saying, "Hey, if you're really still sucking, are you going to not be active?" And I think I did well, but he like, "No, that doesn't have any effect on how we're going to do things." Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that was his answer.
So Sperry, let me ask it like this. Let me go to Robert, because Robert, you were as down as you have ever been on this team, like within the last month. It feels very recent. So are you more positive or less positive or what after the firing of Bliss and the hiring of Mike Burns?
I'd say I'm more positive after last night than I am after those things.
Two goals and a shutout
Daniel
changes
mentioned,
things.
I think it wasn't just Johnny, but I think we saw a team that was a little more spirited, that fire in them, and I'm just hoping to God that continues.
Thad, what about you? Are you more positive or less positive after these two moves?
I will say slightly more positive. And it's not because I think Bliss was the person that was the problem here, okay? Because I don't think Burns is the solution here.
And I will say, I think in my conversations with a couple people with the team, I think some people with the team agree with that assessment.
Yeah, and I also think that Bliss, I think his contract was up this year anyway, so he may not have returned anyway. I think it's just a thing that's being done to make something happen.
Yeah,
okay?
and you got to get this guy in before this next transfer window that we're not going to do anything, right?
Yeah, but it's not. I'm not even saying that. I think that they're showing at least something. We're doing something. Okay, they did something at the beginning of the season, hired somebody they should not have hired, and they immediately turned around and got rid of them. I just wonder if this is just an attempt to do something, and that again, I will ask these questions, or Daniel will ask these questions, or somebody else. But on Tuesday, when he's at the press conference, we'll ask Burns, we'll ask Peter, I'll ask anybody else who might still stand up at a podium long enough to be asked a question, is that will they do more hires? Are they going to be doing other stuff? Does this make a change? Do we know what the budget will be? And are we now still going to be active? And we'll know more this week. So let's pod on Tuesday night.
And we should say that we couldn't get any of those answers after the game because he opened that press conference saying, Tuesday, I will answer all the sporting director questions on Tuesday. This is about the game.
Well, to be honest, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like,
it would have got bogged down.
There are times for it, and there are times not for it. I will say, this was told to me at one point. I was talking with somebody about, the hire, just trying to call around and get a vibe check from outside of here. I think the fans had an incredibly negative reaction to it. I think from what I had heard from when I heard the name earlier in the week, that they were kind of expecting a relatively negative reaction from it. I think one of the things that was said to me about the whole thing was, what does Burns bring to the table that Bliss didn't? And I thought, and I think it's an interesting thing about this, because obviously that, as we talk about even the roster, as we look at the staleness of it, is it just the staleness of the voice and the same old people doing the same old thing? That was part of some of the issue with players. Yes, you know what, Johnny Russell has been here forever. He's done the same old thing. Is that stale? Is Andrea Fontes? Is that stale? Is Tim Weah? Like those are all questions and things that people have voiced with the roster. I think
Johnny
kind
is
of
not
maybe the same
stale.
thing. Well, no, but the whole question that kind of goes for the roster and that point can also maybe go to the staff in a way, shape, or form. And I just think the whole thing, I don't know that Burns is like the greatest hire and the perfect answer for it. On paper, it doesn't feel that way. But at the same time, it's something different. It's something new. Um, would argue that he didn't necessarily have bad rosters in New England. He had a very dysfunctional ownership with him for a while that did not care about the team. Where does that sound familiar?
So
And
he's experienced.
So he's experienced, and he had very dysfunctional head coaching situation towards the end of his tenure. He had Jay Heaps, and he had three coaches. He had Stevie Nickel, who was a good coach, but had been around for quite a while. He had Jay Heaps, who lasted way too long, and he had Brad Friedel, who was a train wreck. Peter Vermees is a better coach than all three of those combined. So I think he was largely responsible for a lot of the 2021 Revs roster. He's the one who drafted Matt Turner, Tajon Buchanan, DeJuan Jones, Andrew Farrell. All those guys are group players that they drafted. Now the draft is a little bit obsolete. I get it. But Bruce Arena coached that team that he largely put together. He brought in Carlos Hill as a designated player. Carlos Hill went on to win MVP with Bruce Arena coaching. So if you have a legitimate coach and the guy can build a roster, what's to think that he can't build a roster that can get close to the top of what people wanted to see anymore? But let's also take everything with a grain of salt. I don't think it needs to be as much of a pendulum as it has been on this whole thing. I'm not necessarily positive on it. I'm not necessarily negative on it. I'm just very much wait and see. Let's see what happens here.
Well, I was applauding you for providing that important context there. You definitely made me feel better about the situation. I like that a lot. So I feel better about it. I do think Mike Kuhn very succinctly put the situation into words for me, and that he said it's a very MLS 2.0 hire when the league is, late stage 3.0 or Messi is 4.0 and 5.0.
But those are the questions that get asked on Tuesday too,
right?
About what's the direction? Where do we go as the league starts? I'd argue at MLS 3.0 past Sporting KC by.
Yeah.
So how does MLS get back on board? If you're listening, Mike Burns, that's a question I'm asking you on Tuesday. So
I'm calling you out.
I'm waiting.
Tuesday,
I'll be asking that question.
Tuesday.
And what's the difference though between MLS 2 point something and MLS 4.0 that's coming? Is it just dollar spend?
It's you have to get the best player in the world on your team. All 32.
If it is dollar spend, then Mike's in the room and can hear that answer.
And that's the question I've been asking for how long on the pod now is all the onus on the owners now, not on Peter, because Peter has been saying, you got to tell me what the budget is. And if they don't tell him what the budget is, that means they're not giving him budget. Honestly, that's the answer is if you keep going, what's my budget, boss? And they say, we'll tell you later. That means you have no budget.
Yeah, I still think that answer was given, and that's why he told those announcers he's not expecting a busy transfer window here. So I think we've got our unfortunate answer.
Do we know which announcers said that?
No.
It was Kendra St. Aubin and Tyler Terrence that were on the broadcast last night.
Well done.
In the article from Illig to Sam McDowell, he at least acknowledged that they probably needed to put in more money to the roster. And so I don't know if that's coming through answers that we'll hear when we talk, whether that's if Mike Illig talks and we can ask him questions on Tuesday as well. But, I think that's I'm not it was something that was heard and we'll see. But I'm also at a person that in this moment with all of that. That is very much like, well, I'll believe it when I see it, kind of a thing. So
He's calling you out, Burns. Tuesday. Sperry versus Burns.
this is not going to be that. Please do not set me up like that. I do not need to grill this guy yet. He just needs
Yeah,
to
you do.
answer.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Come on, man.
Oh gosh.
All right.
hold on.
Oh, what's up, Sperry?
I might need a jet so I can put a child to bed here.
Okay,
So
you can
the
take an
US
actual break. That's okay. We went
the
long.
the US one probably will not be part of my conversation tonight, but
Okay, you want to give us
Sorry.
your very quick take on USA versus Uruguay tomorrow night at Arrowhead.
I think US gets the job done
Yes.
because I think,
Good man.
but I also think that if they don't, heads will roll.
Really?
One head in
I've heard-
particular?
I mean,
That
There's
is my
no
main
reason-
question. That's my main conversational point here is, did Weah take all of the blame here with that red card? And no matter what happens against Uruguay, is Gregg Berhalter keeping his job, Thad?
Man, I don't obviously know the answer to that, but I just would have a hard time thinking that if you've been fine with Berhalter all this time, you're going to
Yes.
say, this red card now that Weah did that sabotaged you against Panama is the
Exactly.
reason you're going to fire Berhalter. Now they've
But-
had some stupid red cards throughout this last year, but I don't know. I just find that hard to be that's the final straw.
this isn't a club, this is country. And ultimately you are judged by how you do in the big tournaments.
This
If-
is America.
If Gregg Berhalter did not get out of the group at the World Cup, he never would have come back. If he did not, if Gregg Berhalter does not get out of the group at Copa America that included Bolivia and Panama before they even had to play Uruguay, he probably should not come back. And I mean, it's just that simple. And I'd be curious. I'd be curious to see what actually happens. Because Greg's brother is not the one hiring him or calling the shots anymore. I wouldn't be terribly shocked if they went a different direction if they did not make it out of the group. But at the same time, I understand I understand why we are also like hardened to the fact that nepotism is rampant. So
Incestuous
whether or not they continue
US
doing
soccer.
it, whether or not they continue to do this, I don't know. But I just get the feeling that there's something that this might be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
I thought you just said you thought we were going to win.
I think they're going to win, but I
Okay.
think that if they don't, it's the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Okay. Well, we thank you very much for joining amidst your chaotic household.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. We'll see you tomorrow.
You can just put it on pause and come back and see if we're still here because we might be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thad likes to
to be
linger
honest.
after pods, so
That or it'll just get derailed.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's where what I was thinking, man. I'll just like keep spouting off bad dad jokes. And
Robert,
You're gonna be
Robert
30
will be
minutes
asleep.
later and no one got anywhere on any conversation. It was just Thad doing like a dad joke stand-up bit. That's essentially what it was.
well, at least it wouldn't be a Sperry monologue.
That's much more. Which is least funnier? Which is less funny? The Sperry monologue or 30 minutes of Thad's bad dad jokes?
It's the
Oh, I
Sperry-
know, because I know which one will make me laugh.
It's the Sperry monologue where he acts like he's about to stop. Like there's 4 stop points in the middle of the monologue, but then it keeps going. That's
just
the Sperry
never stops.
monologue.
You love it.
And you're
right.
still here.
And he's
still
still
here.
going.
Go already. Be free. Fly.
Robert, are you as positive about the U.S. as Sperry was?
Well, first of all, let's address the Berhalter situation. I think Berhalter should be judged, if you want to use that term, on how he reacts to the situation. If he shows some flexibility, shows some ingenuity in how they play Uruguay, and it doesn't work out, that's a positive. in the sense that he showed that flexibility and willing to try different things and be aggressive, be more aggressive. If he doesn't, and it's the same old thing, then it's definitely a problem. Because in 2 years we're hosting the World Cup, and if we haven't taken advantage of this opportunity to show the country that we're where we should be soccer wise, we sure as hell have to do it in 2 years.
You mean try something different, like maybe something crazy like playing Yunus Musa?
That would be insane.
How?
Yes.
How does he leave Yunus Musa on the bench for that last game, Thad?
I don't know, man. I don't hate Berhalter like a lot of people do, but I don't always agree with like who he starts. But
yeah,
we could go into that. And again, there's always the things that we don't know behind the scenes. Is a guy nursing a little injury and he doesn't want to start him. We don't know some of that stuff, so it's always easy to criticize. It's just I don't know.
I don't like that that it just seemed like it's over already. That we look at this game versus Uruguay and we're like, oh, well, this is over. If we're as good as we want to be, we were going to have to be better than Uruguay to go to the quarterfinal, to go to a semifinal, which is what we were hoping. So I don't think it's out of the question. When these guys are on, they are that good. There is an insane amount of quality on the field for the Americans. And if it is all working, then they can absolutely get 3 points out of this.
They can win this. You're absolutely right. They can win this. Whether they do or not, hell, I don't know. I'm not going to predict that stuff, man, because I would have predicted that they beat Panama. I would not have predicted that Weah would have slapped the guy in the back of the head and got a red card and another game ban after that.
Yeah, I can't believe he did that. I don't know. Then there's the question of, I saw people want to put that all on Weah and all of that. Are you on the boat where, I'm sorry, like these guys have been playing in CONCACAF for a long time. Every team tries to CONCACAF you. At this point, how is Weah not more prepared 10 minutes, 12 minutes into a game to not throw a punch at someone? Like, is there something there that, like, it's on the coaching staff in some way, or was this just Weah?
In my opinion, it's all on Weah. I mean, you don't need to, you should not have to sit there and, because I've heard this question asked, what did Berhalter tell him? Well, shit, man, I don't need to. If I'm Vermees, I don't need to tell a guy not to punch a guy in the back of the head. If I'm Berhalter, I don't need to tell somebody not to punch somebody in the back of the head.
Well, maybe you do. We're playing CONCACAF. That's how this goes. We should be telling them that before every game.
It's in the freaking rules of the game.
Well, don't punch people.
I don't need to tell them that.
Not don't punch people, but guys, it is their goal to get under your skin. And don't let it happen.
I'm pretty sure that actually happened. Yes, we're playing CONCACAF. We're playing teams, and that ref let a lot of shit go. But that was even a lot of that was after. I wondered if there was something specific that happened, that caused him to react. But he's not said there was.
I kept thinking there was going to be there was some racist stuff going on, and it sounds like there was after the game, but I didn't hear any of them say that was.
Yeah, but I think that was from fans on social media. But actually, what I wondered, the way the play went down, because he basically cut back in front of Weah and did a pick on him or whatever the right term is. But I actually wondered if he dropped his hand down and rang his little Timmy's.
Uh-oh.
You know what I mean? That was my first thought was that was the only thing I could think of that would make him mad enough to smack him in the back of the head on that play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rang his little Timmy's.
I was trying to keep it somewhat clean after I tried to F-bomb earlier.
That ref. It was a very notorious ref. Everyone was like, how many red cards are going to get issued in this match? And it took 12 minutes with that guy.
And how many fouls?
If he would have given a yellow on the guy that just bulldozed Matt Turner, then I think that situation calms down a little bit there. But still, Weah, you have to just be better than that, smarter than that. Can't do it. And I'm not a Gregg Berhalter hater. But that being said, a lot of the reasons for the vitriol that you see and the chaos you see on U.S. men's soccer Twitter, you can understand their logic. Everything that happened and that he left and then came back, and his brother being a guy that hires him and no one else is interviewed, all of these things I can understand all of it. I just want it to work. And if he's going to get a win out of this team over Uruguay, then maybe it can work. I just need to see something. At a certain point, if everybody keeps getting dumb red cards every couple tournaments, then there's something wrong, and they need to actually get it in these players' heads. You know what I mean? Like, there's just something there, a regime change, something. But if we don't make it out of this group, it just seems like we still have enough time that they can find someone to rejuvenate things, freshen things up, and maybe have us compete better with everyone outside of CONCACAF.
Except we're losing to the teams from CONCACAF. I mean, that's what happened.
Yeah.
You know, again, it's no coach should have to tell their players, by the way, they'll piss you off. Don't hit them in the back of the head.
Maybe we should. It's not that exact sentence, but it's like, how about over the course of years, we're drilling it into your head. That's every team's goal is to CONCACAF. You don't get CONCACAF'd.
It's not just CONCACAF. It's teams of lesser ability that are always going to do that sort of shit. I mean, you know, how many years do we see Houston, Dallas, et cetera, do that sort of stuff in MLS? They'll do something to get you pissed off. They'll do something to get you to react. Friggin' Diego Rubio hit headbutting multiple players last night in the back of the head.
Dude, Rubio and Dallas and Houston, they merely understand and have adopted CONCACAFing. All these teams that U.S. play in CONCACAF in these World Cup qualifyings, they were born in it. They live for the shithousery. It's part of their style.
We always call it CONCACAFing, but it's not just CONCACAFing, okay? Peru was doing this to Canada. They were being super physical and doing things, and soon as it looked like the Peru player might get a red card, they rushed over and started bumping Canadians, trying to get them to react to draw a red card on them. It's the way it's played, and it's always teams with lesser quality that are going to do that because they're trying to compete against the bigger teams. So it's Panama's going to do that against the U.S. They're going to do that against Mexico. They're going to do that against Canada. And we just got to be smarter, man. Yes, the coaches need to say something, but I just don't feel like Tim Weah should not have known, don't hit a guy in the back of the head for whatever happened.
Robert, we getting out of the group tomorrow night?
I'm not feeling confident about it. Not that I don't believe that we can do it, because we can. It's just I think Uruguay is going to come to play, and the quality they've got is up there. So
now, see,
I'm also worried about the Arrowhead crowd. I'm afraid that Kansas City's not going to show up like I want them to and drive this team to what it needs to be driven to. So that's a factor in my thoughts as well.
Now, see, I really wanted to get amped up there and be excited about the U.S. after this. Thad, tell me you think they're going to win.
You asked for an answer. I gave you my answer.
Give me something, Thad.
The U.S. has the quality to beat Uruguay. They do.
USA.
I will go against I don't know if Kansas City shows up or not. I mean, I know I see people posting on social, Kansas City, you got to show up tomorrow and support the red, white, blue, blah, blah, blah. But these games aren't Kansas City games. They're national games. I mean, I know I've ran into guys from Peru that was following all the Peru games. They'd already scheduled the first 3 group games. They were following all Peru. And I know there's people doing that for the U.S. People will go to wherever, it's 3 U.S. games that was guaranteed. People had tickets for them before this ever happened.
I saw a guy in Quick Trip in full Peru headdress gear. This was like 3-4 days before the game, and he just had a whole sign on his head that just said Peru. It was amazing.
Okay, so I need to tell a story. Sorry. After the Peru-Canada game, I walk out and I go to my car and I'm going to the car, and there's like 3 guys standing over there in like various different Peru costumes. One of them's like an Inca warrior dude. I just take a picture of him. I go put stuff in the car, and a guy comes over and says, "Hey, Inca warrior wants to know, can you give him a ride to the hotel?" And I'm like,
"Wow.
Where's the hotel?" And so they like tell me the address and all this stuff, and I'm like, "Yeah, I can give the Inca warrior a ride to the hotel. He's kind of an older guy. It wasn't like too big of a deal." And they go, "Thanks. All 4 of us will fit in your car, right?" I went, "Oh, whoa, that's a whole different story, man."
4 Inca warriors is different.
Well, there was
Wow.
one Inca warrior, one guy that's from Peru but lives in Utah, and 2 other guys that are from Peru, and they were in costumes also, but it was not Inca warrior costumes. So anyway, I like, okay, this is a little more uncomfortable, but yeah, okay. So I drove them to their hotel, and it was the Marriott down on Main Street north of the plaza.
Oh, wow.
And I'm driving down there, and I'm like, okay, I'm not too worried about getting jumped by these guys. They seem like really nice guys, but still, it was just a little bit disconcerting that all of a sudden it went from 1 guy to 4 guys. But anyway,
Strange
I'm
guys,
driving them there.
strangers in your car, strange men in your car. That's scary for a lady like yourself.
Piss off. Um,
Wow.
Anyway, I'm driving down there, and as I pull up to get close to the Marriott, there's just like flashing lights everywhere, cop cars everywhere, and I'm like, what's going on? I pull up, and it wasn't until later I realized that was Peru's hotel.
Wow.
So they were staying at the same hotel. So I think they were just waiting for the team bus
Yeah.
to get there. But I pulled up, and they got out, and everything was good. We said, hey, blah, 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 and all that stuff. Everything was all good. Driving home, I runs to Quick Trip to get gas. I'm putting in gas, and I look like, what's in the back of my car? And one of them left part of his costume there.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I could even find them now. So I'm going to post on social media somehow, like, hey, if you know these guys, I'll send it to them. But I don't know how much it costs to send a plastic piece to,
To
Peru. So anyway, sorry, that was a sidetrack story, but it was
Well, good job. You showed out
was
of
trying to be a good guy.
Yes, exactly. You showed out of towners how nice Kansas Cityans are. Well done. That's all we ever want.
Nice job, Dad. Nice job.
So I know I kind of interrupted you. Do you want to wrap up your thoughts on the game tomorrow? You're confident?
no, I'm not.
Okay.
I would love to be, man. Again, they can win.
I think we're
They
going to win.
can win.
I think they're going to pull it out. Pulisic is
they-
going to be a hero. Pulisic is great, and he's going to show it in this game. And we're going to win. Let's go, Yanks! Okay. Okay, there you go. I got a yay. I'll take a yay out of Thad. Let's talk about the current. That'll get more of a yay out of you. Single season unbeaten record, Thad, and they're still going.
It's actually over last season too.
Oh, I thought they were just this season, and that Orlando is tied
It
until.
includes the last 2 games from last year.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
And I meant to look this up while we were recording, and I haven't yet. Okay, Orlando did get the win just now after we started recording. So it is a battle of unbeaten teams next weekend, Thad.
I know it's going to be tight, man. Because Banda got a goal. Damn it. Barbara Banda and Tim Weah and Sophia Smith are all battling for the Golden Boot. I don't know what the totals are right now, but Tim Weah was leading after the other night, but I think Banda was like just 1 or 2 goals behind. So
Really going to be hard to beat Barbara Branda with a name like that. Destined to be a star.
Barbara Banda.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the other bad news, I don't know why I said the other bad news. The bad news that just kind of I saw right as we were starting to record this is that Bia has a stress factor.
Yeah. She left the game. She was hurt the other night. She's been battling a foot injury, so I don't know if it's one that's kind of went undiagnosed or if it actually got worse. Don't really know the details. I saw the social media post saying that she had plantar fasciitis and found out that she has a stress fracture in a metatarsal.
Dang. So she will miss the Olympics and time for current.
Yeah. On the positive side is like they'll have a lot of games that don't matter for the standings. They're at that 2 tournaments, the Feminile Cup, and I cannot remember what the other one is.
2-0 win over Houston. That was a really fun game. They had about 1 million shots in the first half and at the start of the first half and couldn't get a goal. One of which, Thad, went into the river. Temwa Chawinga inserts herself into the history books. The first river ball. Did you get to witness this with your eyes?
I saw the shot. I was on the same end as the river, so I mean,
Hell of a shot.
saw the shot. I saw it go over. I kind of looked back and I could see the bounce, and then
I just like the crowd urging it on. Like everyone got excited. It just went there and it had a chance. And then they finally showed it that it had reached the water.
It's going. It's got a chance. It's gone.
So
All right,
fitting.
was it a shank or was it like a dry that just went wide?
Oh no, it was high and wide, and it was as bad as any Roger shot. Remember we talk about Roger sending them into orbit. She definitely
Gotcha.
did that on this one.
It was not as bad as Eddie Johnson.
Yes,
Oh,
that is
okay,
very
there you
true.
go.
But it did make it
Eddie
to the river.
Johnson's, I think, came down in Russia 6 months later.
So fitting that it was Tim Weah, and then she followed it up with a brace. Like it's so fitting that it was her.
That should from now on be known as a Chawinga hat trick.
The Tim Weah River in between the two bridges. I really love that idea. They should do that. Mayor Q needs to get on that.
So I do have a question. I've been asked this and I don't know the answer yet, but who went into the river to get the ball?
I know.
The river was flowing.
It was flowing, and I saw the guy who had it. Like, they're like, oh, they got the ball. He did not look wet. I don't know how they fished it out. The announcers were like, that ball is never coming back. That ball is going to end up in Mississippi.
If I was one of them, I would have went in the river for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have dumped my phone out. Don't get me wrong. I would have dropped my shoes. I would have went, but I would have went for it.
Yeah,
I've
for
been in
sure.
that river before. It's been a while. But
It's dirty, but I'd be more worried about the dirt and whatever gross in the water than I would be the current.
yeah, as long as you're smart, you can always get back to the side. But it's
Right.
And then snakes, snapping turtles.
So, yes, big game next weekend. The crowd will be all hyped up. Two very good teams going head-to-head. And also, the Current will be playing the Orlando Pride. But the game I was referring to is the media game at halftime. Thad, are you excited for this?
I am. It'll be fun to be in the first media game at the new stadium.
I know. I'm just very excited. This will be the first game I've actually seen at this stadium. I've been to the stadium several times for different events, and I was there for the watch party at an away game, but I have not seen a game in the stadium yet. I'm very excited. I can't wait. I can't wait to score some more goals. The teams are different for the media game this year. I don't know what the jerseys are going to be, but I wanted the other jersey. I wanted the white one, and I think I'm on the team that if they do the jerseys, I'm going to get red. But my team is not as good. All the ballers, Jillian Carroll and all the ballers are on the other team. So it's going to be rough.
I'm on your team. I'm feeling a little insulted.
That's what I mean. That's what I was getting at there.
That's okay. I'm a fat old guy. I'm just out there for the fun.
Any brief thoughts on that last game for them?
They just proved that they can be so deadly. And one of the things I really loved was Pfeiffer came off the bench,
Oh,
came
yeah.
in,
Yeah.
got a goal. It was ruled offside. I mean, it was
Yeah.
clearly offside.
Oh,
but,
she's so good, man.
but 16-year-old, she received the ball. Houston players got back on the defensive side of her, and then she dribbled 2 or 3 of them and still scored the goal. She ended up going out of the game herself, hurt,
Yeah.
but they said it was a minor knee thing. But 16-year-old coming in and dribbling, defense, and scoring is a positive sign that she's going to be a force in the future.
Yeah, I got called back, but the way she carries herself, the way she looked on that goal was just like she knew she was better than everyone else on the field and was the best player. And yeah, she's very good. I'm excited for that one.
Hopefully the knee injury is minor. They said so after the game, but hopefully it's minor and she can play in a lot of these, the Feminine Cup and the Women's Cup. That was the other cup.
Dude, that
tournament
injury
they're
did
playing.
not look good. That was while she was taking a shot and maybe the studs got stuck in the ground or she was, spun the knee around at the wrong time. One of my friends is about to have surgery on her ACL for a play that was exactly like that, taking a shot on a soccer field. So I winced at seeing that, but she did stand up and was back on the field at least briefly. So hopefully that is minor.
She played a little bit longer after that before that she came off.
Yeah.
And again, they said it was minor. Hopefully it is.
All right. Let's talk about this next upcoming week for Sporting KC. Kind of a weird schedule. We got a Thursday game, July 4th. Why are they doing it like that, Thad? Are there other games on July 4th?
Yeah. July 4th is a
California
common
West
day.
Coast.
They try to play games. They have fireworks after, different teams do. So
Okay.
I'm just glad it's away this time. So I
Okay,
can
that's fair. I just thought we were at the mercy of Apple TV, all games on at once, Saturday, 7:30. I like this. So Thursday versus Colorado. And then they also play Sunday, Dallas in the Open Cup. And then actually 3 days after that, we'll play Dallas again.
3 days later is the Open Cup.
Right. Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, sorry, I see.
I know you had it wrote down correctly. I think you just didn't quite say it the right way.
Yes,
But
regular season on Sunday and then Open Cup next week. So kind of an odd week. But Robert, what do you think of Colorado on Thursday?
Well, it is a tradition that Colorado hosts a July 4th match, so good for them.
I didn't realize.
Yeah, but they're fourth in West right now, 9-8-4. Tied for the third most goals against, so that's a positive for Sporting. They have developed into more of a front foot type of attacking team under Chris Armas. They play that 4-2-3-1. So you got Jordi Mihalovic, 9 goals, 8 assists. Rafael Navarro, 11 goals. And then you got Zach Steffen. I don't know how much he's been playing in goal, to be honest with you. But
but Mihalovic,
they're a dangerous side for sure. So hopefully we can keep our momentum going, at least get a result, get a draw at least, if not a victory out of this.
Mihalovic and Navarro, very dangerous players. But yes, the third most goals allowed. Sporting has been scoring goals. So I don't know. Thad. I saw a conversation about, about Willie versus Polito again. And do you feel like more goals come when Polito is on the field? It's just not from him. Is there something to that? Are we better when he's on the field, even if he's not in the right spot to be scoring?
So you're saying he's Kyrie Shelton 2019?
Has he fallen that far? Oh my God.
I mean, and this is not trying to make fun of Kyrie, but remember that we had all these pods where we talked about Kyrie doing all the things to make other people better. He wasn't scoring much, but the team was the highest scoring,
Kyrie
of all
the
time
creator
or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, he it wasn't like he was getting a ton of assists, but he got some assists. He was top 10 in game winning assists. Anyway, but is Polito doing that now? I don't know, man. I was sitting there last night watching, and I'm like, at points, I'm thinking, oh yeah, there's Allen. Oh, hey, there he is.
Yeah.
Oh, nice haircut.
You can forget about him.
Like, he just didn't seem to be doing a ton. But then Vermees complimented him. I don't know if that's a psychological thing or he really saw that. And I mean, who knows? But I went back and I was trying to get some photos out earlier today real quick. And I'm like, okay, he was in the box when Afrifa scored that goal.
Mm-hmm.
He was coming down the center. He was running that center channel, which is exactly what he should be doing.
Wasn't fast enough to get there, but.
Well, but he was there for a rebound. I mean, if you're not you don't want to, when you're running those channels or whatever the right term that you want to use, if you're running those, you don't always want to be level with the other person. Okay, it depends on how the cross comes in and all this other stuff. But whoever's crossing it,
on that play, we had two guys trying to run and get in, quote unquote, just trying to get into the position, and one of them got to the right spot, and the other one wasn't quite there.
But he would have been there for the rebound.
Yes.
If he was even with Afrifa, he would have been too far in to get a rebound.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But anyway, all I was trying to say is he was getting into spots. I just don't know if I agree that he was doing a good job of it, that Vermees said in the post-game presser.
Just a sad sorry state of affairs for our strikers right now. I understand the conversation about Agata. The number one thing you can say about him, or that I hear people say about him, is that he gets into the good spots. He's in the box. He's right there where he needs to be. And when you hear that said about a striker, it's just, you're just saying they're standing in the right spot. Like, you don't say that about a midfielder. Oh, he stands in the midfield. He stays in the midfield. He does really well at staying in that area of the field. So it's I have such a hard time giving Agata credit for that. But then at the same time, the guy he's starting behind doesn't do that. So it's just a terrible situation right now.
But see, I mean, that's why when you criticize Zagata for being in the right spot, like, oh, he was just standing there. No, he's in the right spot.
I'm just not
That's
giving
the
him
first
credit.
thing.
I'm not
That's the first
criticizing
thing.
him for it. It is. I'm not criticizing. It's just the first thing, and I'm not giving him extra credit for it. It doesn't mean he's a good striker because he stands in the box. I'm sorry. If that's the best thing you can say about Willie is that he just is in good areas.
First of all, he's not just standing in the box; he's getting into the box. He's getting into the spot. And if you gotta like run down this checklist of what people are supposed to do, and they do the first thing, you can't say, "Oh, that's all he did was the first thing." He did the first thing. The other guy isn't.
He does do the first thing. It's everything on the list after that I question.
Yeah, the clinical finishing is like 27th on the list, and there's nowhere near there.
Yeah. Okay.
Robert, you wanted to say something. I know you did.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, it's about peeling off a defender and being hard to mark in that box and being slippery, if you will, is what Willie does well. It's just he needs sometimes 3 touches to finally put the ball away. So.
What else happened around Major League Soccer? Oh, the finish of ATL in Toronto. Oh my gosh, Jamal Tiare, that was insane. I don't feel bad for Toronto at all. Is that fair game? Do you like this kind of thing, or is this shithousery?
Cody, I want you to try this in the current media game.
Yeah,
see if it works for you.
that'd be like the guy that tries too hard. Like no one wants to be the try hard on that field, and I don't want to have to do that to some poor Thad, or like Thad plays goalie sometimes just back there.
No.
Okay.
I'll play defense. I don't play goalie.
Maybe Kuhn would play keeper.
Yeah. Oh, I would pick on him. That's a very good point. That to Mike, I might pull that stat.
Which team is Mike on?
I think he is on the other team actually.
Man, I don't remember.
I guess actually we didn't even describe this play. It was Jamal Tiare after the keeper wrapped it up and is laying on the ground. The rest of the team, everyone's walking the other direction on the field. He goes and gets a drink from the keeper's water bottle. Everyone's turned around. He just lingers. And then by the time the keeper rolls the ball in front of him to kick it and the defenders all turn around, it is too late, and he sneaks up and steals the ball and puts it in the back of the net. 97th minute winner. Truly absurd. I love it. MLS is going to MLS, baby.
You asked me if it was shithousery or if I liked it or what, and I'm like, yes. Both.
It's all of those things.
All of that above.
Honestly, it's like I felt like that's something that if I was playing professionally, I would try to do once in a while, all right? Because you
Not
get
easy.
a goal.
The stars have to align a little bit, where the entire defense has to turn. Everyone has to be walking the other direction.
And you just have to forget that there's a guy standing behind you that's an attacker, right? I mean, there's a lot of little things that I think that maybe because, I played a lot of amateur indoor soccer at All-American that I would maybe have been declared the most fouling player in the league.
Not surprising.
But there was a lot of stuff that the dirtiest player. I was voted the dirtiest player one season.
Okay, well, that's different.
Well, yeah, I know. That's not, and I don't feel like the dirtiest player was actually true. I never went out to hurt anybody, but I would have done stuff like that. I would have done I would just stand over on the boards, like they would have ads, and I'd stand near the ad that had the same color as my jersey, and then when the goalie would drop the ball and start rolling out, then I'd go and attack them.
Now, see, if I'm professional, if you're playing professional, yes. But I love intramural sports, and let me tell you, when there's a team in kickball that is trying to do all of these little things, like they think there's prize money involved, and just cut all the little corners you can get in gamesmanship, and it's like, this is a beer league. I'm in the outfield with a beer in my hand. What are we trying to gain all these competitive advantages for?
I foul people in media games, man.
Well, that's fun.
That when you remember when Aaron Ladd picked the ball up outside the box when he was playing goalie, right?
I will never forget.
Oh my God, what stupidity, right? But anyway, the other team grabs the ball and sets it down, and I go stand in front of the ball, and the guy's like, "I have a free kick." I said, "I know you do," and he's like, "I need to take the free kick." I'm like, "No, not right now." I was hoping people would come back and help defend. So I was CONCACAFing him. I don't deny it. And I just
Hoping
looked like
Aaron
once
was
in a
getting in position while you were doing it.
Yeah, Aaron was getting in position in the middle of the
No,
goal.
he was not.
He just didn't
No,
know
he
what
was not.
positioning was.
Well, he wasn't on the post. He was in the middle of the goal for the guy to kick it from the side, not from the straight. Yeah, Aaron will never play goalie again on a team that I'm around. But anyway, I will CONCACAF that shit. I don't deny it.
As competitive as I am, don't act like that in intramural sports. We're all here to just have fun. There's no prize money. There's no glory for winning. I'm uber competitive, and I will try very hard, and I'll get angry in a moment and yell. But my team is not, like, trying to cheat. Like, I just hate some of these teams in intramural sports.
And
So
I think there's
if the U.S. CONCACAFs Uruguay tomorrow night, you got to be happy.
Why?
Get a
Yeah,
victory
why
out of
can't
it?
we do that? Let's play that game too. Let's try it.
See, I think there's like a difference in my mindset. Like a beer league is just for fun. So, I mean, I've played softball, volleyball, that sort of thing, and wasn't uber competitive. But when it came to soccer and you like play the same teams,
Yeah.
every month, multiple times, and you like really know like how each one of those guys is going to foul you and all those things, man. It
Nobody
just becomes
plays
more and
sports
more
with that.
competitive.
Just that's the bottom line here. The thesis of this podcast was no one plays sports with that.
Well, I'm too fat and old to really do it anymore, so it's really not a problem.
Last thing, SKC2 got the shootout winner, the draw win over Austin 2 tonight.
Yeah, it was a 2-2 result, and SKC2 scored 4 goals. Cody's looking at me like, what the hell are you talking about?
Well, I didn't
2
really hear
own
the beginning
goals?
of it. I was just hoping you would explain.
Yeah, SKC2 scored 2 goals and 2 own goals.
Oh, really?
Both center backs, I think, for SKC2 scored on themselves.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's the reason it went to the penalty kick shootout that they do in MLS Next Pro. But they won that, so they got at least the extra bonus point.
2 points.
Yeah. So I'm sure Benny Feilhaber was pretty happy about that.
All right. Gentlemen, I hope you get into this game tomorrow, this game on Monday. I hope it all works out. I hope you get to see it. I hope you get to do whatever you need to do there. And I hope the U.S. win.
USA.
There we go. That's what I needed.
USA Sporting! The other side don't seem so tough. And 3 own goals ain't all that rough. Our skipper has just been sent off. Supporters strong have all gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin. Anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking.